Hey, it's me, Raika. Today we're going to have a look at the brand new Draconis hero, Cassius Steadfast Sentinel. Now, this hero wears cloth-based gear, is part of the tank class, and his primary role is to provide a significant amount of buffs for your allies, debuffs for the enemies, and a significant amount of distraction for your allies as well. So let's have a look at his skills. His ultimate ability, Ceasefire Decree. Now, what is Ceasefire Decree? It is a giant circle that appears on the battlefield. As Cassius' scroll spins and rises behind it, it embeds into the ground, marking an area where his allies are clustered and activating equilibrium. This area primarily covers himself, and both Cassius and allies within range are granted a damage reduction and buffer. So as we can see, allies gain 20% damage reduction and 20 points of buffer, while Cassius gains 50% damage reduction and 50 points of buffer. So as we can see from this specific ability, if your allies are grouped together, this will provide a massive amount of damage reduction for your allies. Level 2. During equilibrium, allies within the realm recover health every second for 2% of Cassius' max health. Cassius himself recovers 5% of his max health every second. So as we can see, this is 8 seconds. So that means he can recover 40% of his max health every single time he uses this ability, and your allies can recover up to 16% of their max health over the duration of this ability. And the level 3. For every 4 seconds, enemies remain within equilibrium. They are affected with 1 stack of indecision. Now, this is a debuff that applies various debuffs to the enemies. So let's have a look at his next ability, Diplomatic Maneuver. When Cassius takes fatal damage, he avoids the damage and remains immune to subsequent damage for 2 seconds. Enemies within range of Cassius immediately stop fighting for 4 seconds. So this is a control-based ability, and this is around him, during which Cassius recovers 10% of his max health per second. This skill can be triggered once every 15 seconds. So that means he has multiple cheat deaths throughout the duration of battle, as long as he can survive from one cheat death to the next one. The level 2. For a given period, Cassius' health recovered per second is increased to 15% of his max health. The level 3. The duration is extended to 6 seconds. So as we can see, this is a massive amount of healing that he can give to himself while he's immune to damage. And the level 4. After the period ends, enemies within range are inflicted with 1 stack of indecision. His next ability, Ancient Insights. Cases, lectures, and taunts enemies in their half of the field for 3 seconds. So he forces the enemies to be around him. So this provides that extra distraction for your teammates. Enemies who are taunted deal 30% less damage to him and are inflicted with 1 stack of indecision for 6 seconds. So what do these stacks of indecision do? They lower the enemy's accuracy and insight by 15 points each. Now this can be stacked 3 times. Now once it has reached 3 stacks, they cannot gain any additional stacks, and the duration of indecision will not be refreshed. The level 2. Duration of taunting is increased to 6 seconds. So this is 3 to 6. So this is a pretty significant amount of time. And in level 3, each stack of indecision further reduces enemies' accuracy and insight by 30 points. So this is a total of 90 points reduction in both buffs. And the 13 engravings. When enemies have 3 stacks of indecision, they are unable to cast their skills. So this is a massive amount of control that he can provide with this particular ability. If the enemy cannot use their skills, that means they cannot use their ultimate or any of their abilities from their kits. So this provides an additional control as he's taunting the enemies towards him, and also he's controlling them through this denial of their abilities effect. His next ability, Dragon's Defense. With each enemy hit, Cassius permanently increases his healing received by 1 point up to 30 points maximum, and boosts his max health by 1% up to 30%. The level 2. With each hit of damage, Cassius permanently increases his healing by 2 up to 60 points and boosts his max health by 2% per second up to 60% of his max health. So this is more then half of his health that can be added to his current health. Level 3. When taking damage, if Cassius' max health exceeds that of the enemy dealing damage, excess health worth of 1% of the enemy's max health results in 1 additional damage reduction up to 60%. So as we can see, this is an additional damage reduction on top of his ultimate damage reduction as well. So he constantly has damage reduction, either if he's using his ultimate or he's being provided this defense or damage reduction from this ability over here. And the 60 engravings, when Cassius takes damage, he triggers Dragon's Might, dealing Dragon Speak damage for 20% of his max health to the enemy who inflicted the damage and stunning them for 2 seconds. This effect can be triggered once every or within 4 seconds. Alright, so those are his abilities. Let's have a look at his signature item. Now, when you unlock it, Eternal Resolve, every surviving allied hero on the battlefield, Cassius gains 3% damage reduction. So as we can see, this damage reduction is constantly being added to him, so he can have up to a maximum of 90% damage reduction. The level 10. For every surviving allied hero, Cassius gains 5% damage reduction. So as we can see, if there are 4 additional allies, this is 20% damage reduction immediately as soon as he walks onto battle. The level 20, Cassius' normal attack range is increased and he deals damage for 2% of Cassius' max health. His next upgrade, or 30 signature item upgrade, this will increase his normal attack damage, dealing damage for 4% of Cassius' max health. So the more max health he has, the more single target damage he will be able to inflict. And the 40 SI, he will increase the damage dealt to enemies inflicted with indecision by 40%. If it is a Dragon Speak damage dealer, this effect is amplified to 80%. So as we can see, a massive amount of damage that he can deal with his signature item. So let's have a look at his furniture. Now, when you unlock Harmonious Intervention, the 3 out of 3, when Equilibrium ends, this is his ultimate or his massive circle on the ground, allies within are immediately gain 200 points of energy and 20 points of haste for 3 seconds. And 9 out of 9, enemies within range of Equilibrium have their haste negated or removed and their energy recovery rate reduced by 70 points. So as we can see, he has a lot of utility-based effects built into his kit. So let's have a look at how he does in battle. So we're going to have a look at the training dummy over here. Now, as soon as he walks onto battle, he'll immediately go into melee range and he'll start dealing damage to the enemy heroes. So as we can see, he has taunted all the enemies and he has forced every single enemy on the battlefield to attack him. Now, in addition, we can see these little scrolls on the enemy heads. This is the stacks of indecision, reducing the enemy's accuracy and insight. So let's have a look at his ultimate based ability. So we can see both him and his ally have lost health. So he'll immediately summon a giant circle, healing up his allies and providing massive amounts of damage reduction for himself and for his teammates as well. So let's have a look at how he does at a much higher level deficit. Now, he is a tank. However, he's not that powerful at the beginning of battle. He needs to slowly build up his damage reduction, and over time he becomes more effective the longer he fights the enemies, as his max health, his damage reduction, and the amount of single target damage becomes better the longer he fights in battle. So let's have a look at this particular battle. Now, as we can see, he managed to heal himself and he also managed to tank a lot of damage for his allies. Now, as soon as we start on the battle, we can see that he's currently using his abilities. Now he's put his little equilibrium circle. There we go. Now he's provided a massive amount of healing, energy recovery, and haste for his allies. Now he's also healing himself and any ally within range. And we have now claimed victory over the enemies. Now, the reason why he was able to do this so easy is because he was able to taunt the enemy targets. And each time he gets hit, he'll gain further damage reduction. So, what is the minimum investment that I would recommend into this allied hero? Now, I would highly recommend getting at least his 30 signature item. This will tremendously buff his survivability and damage, as this scales tremendously well with his HP, as we can see over here, as he gains additional defensive, attack rating, and HP stats. Now, I would also highly recommend getting his 9 out of 9 finisher. This provides a massive amount of utility, such as providing energy and haste for your allies, in addition, not allowing the enemies to gain haste or reducing their energy recovery rate. Now, I would also recommend getting his 30 engravings as well. The reason for this provides an Aziz-like effect where the enemies are unable to use any of their abilities. This significantly reduces the amount of incoming damage. So this is tremendously powerful, especially on bosses where they can have a lot of damage, especially in their abilities. And this will allow you to give extra survivability for your allies while they are being forced to attack Cassius and not your allies. Now, I do not recommend getting his 60 engravings, as this does not provide any additional effect or does not give him more damage, as he is not a damage dealer. Therefore, I do not recommend getting these 60 engravings on Cassius over here.